John Sadie, welcome, man.
Thanks for having me on, Nick.
I was looking last night when we first connected, and it was actually basically exactly 12 months ago.
Oh, really? This is our anniversary.
I know.
Happy anniversary.
And here we are.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you reached out to me. I don't know how did you even come across me? Do you remember?
Oh, man. You would have popped up in my feed for sure. I was watching the podcast and then watched the clip, and then I thought, this guy's cool. And then when I realized, you quickly connect the dots because the internet space is huge.
Yeah.
And then you go, this is Sydney or this is Australian,
Yep.
or this guy's local. I want to connect with him. And we were starting our podcast, so you seem like the right type of person to connect with.
And then we're talking about the footy and the doggies and the
doggies.
Tigers.
Yeah.
And you said, let's make a bet if the Bulldogs make the grand final.
Yeah.
First of all, it was like, I'll bet you $50. And I said,
Yeah.
I'm not a betting man.
Yeah.
And then you go, if doggies make the grand final, you have to invite me on your podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Doggies didn't make the grand finals.
I know.
But
And here we are.
I think they might make the grand final this year. What are your thoughts?
Mate, the Bulldogs are one of the most exciting things in life right now.
And you're a diehard
I'm a
fucking
diehard fan. We go way back. My family grew up in Belmore and Canterbury Bankstown area. My grandfather migrated to Australia and became a Bulldogs supporter overnight in the 60s. Both my grandfathers, both sides of the family, Bulldogs fans. My grandfather lived next door and my uncle lived next door to Belmore Sports Ground. So we grew up in the backyard sitting on the tin shed, looking over the fence into Belmore Sports Ground, watching the games from my grandpa's backyard. And man, ever since then, like the best way I can describe the Bulldogs and what winning is like it's like Christmas. Because when the Bulldogs would win a game, everyone in the family would be happy. You know, grandpa's happy, parents are happy, cousins are happy. We had big barbecues, have everyone around. So for me, it just became a line that Bulldogs winning meant happy feelings and happy feelings for everyone. And then obviously everything else that followed, playing rugby league myself and supporting the team all the way through. And then now we've had a rough patch for the last 5-6 years, but the last few years they've picked it up again. Serraldo, Gus Gould, redone the whole roster. They're winning games. We're getting all those happy feelings again, reminding me of my childhood. And we're hoping this year could be a year where we push. Now we've got Lockie Galvin.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Tigers fans.
Tigers fan, yeah. I don't think the Tigers are making the grand final this year.
Nah, they're not. So he's jumped ship from potentially like a bottom team to the top team. So everyone's a bit like, that's a bit of a, good move for you, but not for us, if you're a Tigers fan. But we love having Lockie in the team. He's already seems to be, he's cemented his spot in the first grade, and I think he might be the difference come finals time.
We'll find out, won't we?
We'll find out.
But yeah, I honestly think the Dogs are a really good chance this year to win it.
Yeah. Big test tomorrow versus Penrith Panthers. So
Penrith, nothing, bro. They're nothing this year, bro.
Mate, the 4-time premiers, you can't say that.
I can.
You can confidently say that.
Yeah, I can confidently say that.
You can't say it too loud in Panthers territory, though.
I don't care, bro.
Yeah.
Nah,
you think they're done? They're cooked?
They've won their amount, and they've lost too many players. They're not. Yeah. They're not going to do anything.
They call the Bulldogs the baby Panthers because we've
stolen everyone.
We raided the ranks. We took the assistant coach. We took 3 or 4 players. And we took their defensive style. So Bulldogs now is built on that defensive system where we've got very good defense, and then the attack follows on from that. And Panthers, funnily enough, their defense was struggling early in the season, so they're relearning that defensive structure. Yeah, Panthers, I refuse to write off any team with Nathan Cleary that's in the top 8, and now they broke into the top 8. But yeah, they're definitely not favourites, and if you're not in the top 4, you can't win the grand final apparently. Yeah. So it looks like the top 4's cemented, and in the whole NRL era, 98 on, only teams that have made the top 4 have won the grand final. So they'd have to do another first, which is not just win 5 in a row, but win the number 5 from out of the top 4.
So before we wrap up the rugby league talk, what is your prediction for the grand final? Who's playing? Obviously Bulldogs. Who are they versus?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I saw Ricky Stewart get really emotional when Josh Papali'i scored 2 tries in his 300th game a few weeks ago, and there just seems to be a good vibe around the Raiders. So, and Jed Stewart, his son's debuted last week, so Ricky Stewart's son's playing. There's a good emotional vibe going on there. I feel like they're in a good place culturally, and they're in the top 4 as well. So it could be a repeat of the 1994 grand final lineups, matchup Canberra versus Canterbury.
Ooh,
But hopefully the result would be different because Canberra won that game in '94.
yeah. Actually, I would agree. I actually think I like the way the Raiders are going. They're a big chance. Because who else would it be? Melbourne and
Warriors are up there in
Warriors.
Melbourne. And the Smokies are like Roosters and Penrith, but
No. No. All right, let's call it here.
Yeah.
Bulldogs, Raiders grand final.
done. And Canterbury win. And Lockie Galvin wins man of the match.
Oh, fuck. All right. I'm
Yeah.
going to clip this up. All right.
Yeah, done.
Now, for people who don't know you, you're an accountant. Now, people probably may not pick that because you don't look like an accountant.
I get that a lot.
You're a cool dude.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I didn't actually, when I was in school, I said to my teachers, I want to become an accountant. They go, what do you mean you want to become an accountant? I'm like, yeah, I was good with numbers. I was quite academic. So I was a bit of an all-rounder. I had the sports, played footy and had the sports side going, but I did like, the academic side and did well enough to get into uni and pick a degree. And when I said accounting, the reason was it was meant to be a placeholder. It was a placeholder so I could go learn about business and then one day go out and start my own business. So I've been an aspiring business owner now for 20 years. Funnily enough, I managed to do 2 in 1, start a business and continue being an accountant because I run, my accounting business, Latitude Accountants. And as I've been saying, I'm now thinking about more and more how I become not just an accountant to my clients, but a business owner and a leader to our staff and our growing team.
What was that driving force for you to actually want to go into business?
I love the idea that, business in and of itself is a meritocracy, and I love the idea that you're rewarded for your efforts and the merit of your work. Business has this way of really snuffing out fakers and people that don't actually know what they're doing. It's the ultimate test. The free market helps you learn very quickly if you're good at what you're doing. And if you're not good at it, you learn it really quick. And the way you learn is you run out of money. So I thought being competitive and wanting to be a high achiever, I thought, well, what better way to test myself and for people to test themselves than to go out and be in business in the marketplace, the jungle of the free market, and test if you've got the skills to lead a team, create a product and do it at a profit. Because if you can do that, and you can do that in a city like Sydney, in a country like Australia, then I think you can prove yourself, you prove that you could do that anywhere in the world. It's a really hard environment, Sydney. Very hard, very expensive, lots of tax, lots of regulation, lots of competition, lots of people, lots of migration. It's like everything that could go against business owners happens in Sydney, in Australia. Everything is stacked against us. So if you can come up in that environment and create a profitable, legitimate business and succeed, then I think you've earned a pat on the back.
And for many business owners, money is the scoreboard. Money makes the world go around. And to build a business, though a lot of times business owners get trapped in money is the only motivator instead of actually providing value and giving back to people. Was there a period where you were driven by money, and what was that transition like to go, okay, I actually want to provide value?
Yeah, it's a good point. Every kid who comes up from nothing, and when I say nothing, I had I didn't come up from nothing in the sense that I had a very loving family, loving mum, loving dad, who were with us all the way through, took care of us, put us through school, but we didn't come from great wealth. And for us, you look around at other people and you say to yourself, well, I'd like to have a nice car. I'd like to have a nice house. You know what? Not a nice house. I'd like to be able to buy a house, let alone have a nice house. I'd like to be able to go on holidays and get married and have kids. And how am I going to afford to do all that when I can't even afford to get out of home? So, when you look at that necessitous person that I look at myself and I go, okay, I was just a kid trying to make money. It's very understandable why I was that person, because there were so many things I wanted that I couldn't have, and a lot of them were basic things like just a house and like just living costs. But you get to the point in your career, professional career, might be 5 years in, 10 years in, 15 years in. You get some runs on the board. You might, I was lucky. I bought a property, earlier on, went up in value. My salary went up, started a business, started to make money. And I lost that focus where everything was survival mode. And then you start to transition into a new frame of mind where it's like, okay, I've got enough money to survive. I've bought a house, got enough money to pay bills. So how am I going to be motivated to continue to have the drive? And then you realize you got to reconfigure why you're doing what you're doing. Your why changes, or you realize the greater why, and you start to understand why all the great prophets and religions and mentors and leaders in the world talk about doing good to others. It's because the true motivator that will never die is giving value for others and doing things for other people rather than yourself. So no matter what your circumstance is, whether you're in abundance or you're in lack, you're still going to have a reason. And for me, I've been through that transition, for various reasons over the last 10 years, where I say to myself now, I don't get out of bed every morning to run a business so I can get a paycheck at the end of the week. If I was just doing it for that, I could have stopped doing that a while ago. I do it because I love what I'm doing. I love the people I'm doing it for, and the people, like the staff, the clients, my family, and I'm adding value in the world. I'm providing a product and a service to help people. If I wasn't doing that, it would not be worth it. The money is not worth it after you get to a point where you've got enough money to meet your basic needs. I think it's Maslow hierarchy of needs or something like that. There's like your physiological needs, and then there's higher needs above that. And then as you work up that progression, you realize helping others, meaning, purpose, is much greater motivator than paying your bills or paying a mortgage. They're more long lasting, they're pervasive.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned faith playing a huge role in, I guess, your mindset and the way you hold yourself in this world. How has that helped you in the way you run a business and be a leader and create the culture within your business?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we grew up in a very faithful Christian household. Mum and dad, taught us the Bible, taught us Christian values, and in many different ways in my life, it's played a big part in my life. And I think when you're young, it's the stories. It's like, Noah's Ark and, story of Moses parting the Red Sea. And like you look at those people as like inspirational characters in the stories. But then as you grow up, it's the patterns and the purpose. It's like, what is the virtues that we're learning through these stories? Okay. You're learning about bravery. You're learning about humility. You're learning about sacrifice. And what I love about faith and my Christian faith is the virtues that are embedded in that faith. And I think in business, businesses are seen as like cruel, heartless creatures where they're only out there to make profit and crush everyone else. I don't look at business like that. I look at business as an opportunity to exhibit virtues and to do good to others. And then because a result of that goodness and virtue, you in return will receive reward, and the reward is profit. You create value in the market, people will come to you, they'll use your services, you'll grow your business because of the good you do.
Yeah, it's just the saying of don't chase money and fame, chase like being excellent, being the best version of you, and the rest of it will follow.
You got to be the best version of yourself. That pursuit of excellence and self-growth is something I try to exhibit in my life. And I've been through lots of like horrors and traumas and things and ups and downs in that journey. But we're trying to, in Latitude Accountants, exhibit that in the business where we're thinking about our clients first. Like we drew up our vision. We said that, our vision is that we see the small business owner as the hero of the community, and we want to help small business owners achieve their goals and dreams. And we are doing it with the small business owner at the forefront of our message, because small business owners are exactly me and you. They're everyday people. They're mums and dads. They're people who have goals and dreams for themselves. They're people with kids. They're people that want to help others. They're people that are part of your church community, or they're people that are in your sports groups. They're everyday people. That is, Australians are small business owners. That's us, right? And if you're not a small business owner, you're working in a small business to some extent. We don't have that many big businesses. The majority of people are employed by a small business or are small business owners in Australia. So that's Australia. We love Australians, and we love small business owners. We want to serve them. And how we're trying to serve them? We're trying to serve them by teaching them skills and doing things for them around financial services that they don't know how to do for themselves. You know, we talk to them about structures. We talk to them about setting up companies. We talk to them about why a family trust can help you save tax, why superannuation is like a tax-free haven that you need to utilize to your benefit. You know, and just simple things like how to put put aside enough money for tax every day, how to pay someone wages, how to buy a car in your company. Like there's everyday lessons that all Australians are not taught in school and not taught in university. So we pride ourselves on giving them that value, teaching them those lessons, but then also doing the work of setting up the structures, lodging the tax returns, keeping ATO at bay, nasty ATO, you know, keeping them safe from audit, keeping ASIC at bay, keeping everyone off their back so they can do what they're best at, running a business.
Yeah, as a small business owner myself, I have very little idea of all these things, which is why I'm going to be having a conversation with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were speaking before around putting yourself out there and putting the content there, because what that does is build a relationship and trust with people. And through me seeing that content and building a relationship with you off camera, it makes me want to work with you. And that's why I love, as a small business owner myself, it's about building relationships and trust with people. That's what it's about. People first, the money will come.
Yeah. And that's it, man. I think at the end of the day, people can smell someone that's money hungry, right? If you're just working with someone and like their only intention is to get more fees out of you, get you to sign up, it puts a bad taste in your mouth. You know what I mean? You can tell when you got a salesperson or a call center on your phone calling you relentlessly and their only desire that they have is to try to turn you into a profit. You can sense that. You want to lead with the virtues. You want to lead your business with the mission. You want to be mission driven and say, okay, what is the mission of my business? My mission and my vision is to do good in the world, insert whatever way that is. You know, if you're in a media company, your vision is going to be, well, to help people do media and, you know, share their message and, you know, help them make some noise. Like your mission and purpose have to be the reason, and then the money is what flows out of that. And anyone who goes out with a money only focus, and this is where it's challenging sometimes, where like if you look at investment, like if you want to be an investor and that's a different thing to running a business. An investor is someone who sits on the back fence, on the bench, and is choosing other businesses or other assets to buy to get an ROI, a return on investment. Yep. It's a lot more passive. Okay. So if your purpose or what you're trying to achieve is to build wealth as the goal, well, there's a place for that. And that's investment, you know, whether you do that yourself directly, whether you pay people to do it for you. You know, Warren Buffett made his money by investing. There's a lot of guys out there that didn't actually necessarily build businesses, but they're investors. They can predict the market and say, this business or this asset's going to do well, I'm going to invest in that. That's a different calling to being a business owner. A business owner provides goods or services. Those goods or services have to do good in the world. They have to impact people. If you're a builder, you're building houses. You build houses, why? To put people in them so they can live and raise their kids. If you're running a cafe, why are you doing it? To feed people. People need to eat. People need to drink. So you're actually there meeting a human need of whatever cause. And if you do that efficiently and well, you'll generate profits. And then you can reinvest those profits into growing the business. But ultimately, the business owner is very different to the investor, and it's a totally different mindset.
You speak about having an impact and adding true value to people. And as an accountant, you could just be sitting behind a computer crunching numbers all day and overweight, eating crap food, which I know there was a period of your life that you were like that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that transition now, because I heard you speak about on another podcast where, you know, as an accountant, you should inspire other people to be a better version of themselves and look to you, because you're the person that's really looking after all the numbers and their investments and everything like that. If you're not someone that they aspire to be like, why would they want to work with you?
No, it's a fair point, man. Look, to get into it, like, to be honest, I grew up as a fat kid. You know what I mean? So I grew up fat kid, bad habits with food, like on and off. I'd have my times where I was disciplined. Like I did play a lot of sport, rugby league. So in season, I was good. Off season,
were you a front rower?
Yeah, front rower. They put me in the front row from day one because I was 30 kilos heavier than all the other kids. I had no choice. I was front rower from about 6 years old. So I played, 15 years of footy. During season, I was doing a bit of running or whatever, managing it. Off season, just ballooning out. So I didn't set up the good habits as a kid. Sort of got okay towards the end of school because I got really competitive with rugby league. But then going into the workforce, I ballooned out. I got to every year, and it's really hard. This is one of the things that's hard about accounting. You have to go and do a job. And in the old days when I was coming up, you would do a minimum 50 hours in the office. And if I wasn't in the office, like the commutes, because you got to work in the city. We come from Western Sydney. You had to catch a train for an hour each way. You had to do 40, 50 hours in the office. Then you have to study part-time. So then you go from sitting at a desk to sitting in a lecture, sitting in a tutorial. You do studies for 6 years part-time and then another 2 years of chartered accounting. So you start your 8-year career sitting at a desk for 60, 70 hours a week. And then naturally you're eating rubbish food because you're on the move from work to whatever. So I ballooned up from probably left school at about solid 100, 105 kilo front rower that was pretty fit. And at the worst, I got to about 170 kilos.
I seen that
fat
photo.
accountant. Yeah.
You have to send it through. I'll put it up.
So I got to a point where the career was going good. I was a good accountant. I wasn't good at managing my weight. And I wasn't, it wasn't a good perception. But as things happen in life, that problem got exacerbated by further problems and things that happened after that. So I was lucky enough to marry a beautiful girl, get married pretty young, Sarah, my beautiful wife. We met at church and whatever, and we met pretty young and got married, and things were going good apart from me blowing up with the weight. And then we had really rough times in our mid to late 20s. So I'm here trying to start a business. This is probably early 2012 to 2015. I'm talking about. I'm trying to start a business. My weight's ballooning out of control, but then all these other things in life started to happen that just made things really bad. I look back at it now and I go, I don't know how I got through that period, but one thing that happened was I was in a very good close-knit church community, and for one reason or another we had disagreements theologically and went separate ways. So we had a split where what that meant for me in my personal life was I lost a lot of really close relationships and friendships. So I'm a young guy with a wife. So we're a young couple trying to make our way in the world. My weight's got out of control. I've now lost my support group, my community, my church, people that I love, my friends that I spend most of my time with. And things start to go bad at work. All of a sudden one day we're sitting in the office and we get raided by over 15 cops in the office. They come in and raid us, and what the hell is going on? And for us, that was a very unusual occurrence because we didn't grow up, criminals. We didn't do the wrong thing or whatever. So to get raided was although I saw it happening a lot in Greenacre growing up, for us to happen in our office, we grew up as good kids, church kids and whatever. We didn't really, mingle with, bad side of the train tracks. So get raided and what the hell is going on? And all of a sudden this detective is on my case about a client situation and thinking we're mixed up in something our client's doing. So we're just young accountants building an accounting business, bringing on all sorts of different clients. And
you just take what you can get.
You take what you can get. And we're getting clients from everywhere and they all have legitimate businesses and you don't know who's involved in what and what else they do on the side or what their background is. And they call you, they're asking you tax questions and you don't know what the implications are. So, we're learning all this. So then we're getting raided. And then at one point, this guy was on my case trying to get me to breach confidentiality and telling me about, everything about the client. Raid happens. And then at that point, things started to get worse where we had multiple organizations coming after us, Crime Commission and Financial Crimes, New South Wales Police, getting pulled out of lines at the airport. And I'm I've done nothing wrong. I don't know what the hell is happening in my life, but I'm being scrutinized to a degree that I don't understand. And, so you could say at rock bottom now. Yep. So I've got 170 kilos, trying to start a business, being investigated for things I don't understand or I'm not affiliated with, and being pulled out of lines, being raided, And I'm thinking, man, when is this going to let off, or when are things going to turn? I need a windfall. I need things to, turn around and go good. My missus sees I'm stressed out, and this is why I love my missus so much. She's, she can read me really well. I used to ride a motorbike when I was young, so she realized I was down and out, and she got me a hire a Harley voucher.
Yeah.
So we could hire a rental bike just to get a feel for it again. I had a relative who sadly passed away on a bike, and I gave away my bike in my earlier years. And then she thought, you know what, I missed the bike. And so I jumped onto the Harley, and we just went out for a cruise one day. It was a Sunday. Went up, had a really nice day. Anyway, on the way back home, in the midst of everything in my life basically falling apart, me just trying to get a break, going through an intersection about 60 k's an hour, and my wife's on the back, and we get T-boned by a car. We just get absolutely wiped out and cleaned up. So I wake up, I'm on the ground, and I look up to the sky, and I can see the blue sky, and then immediately my response is, oh, where's Sarah? Where's my wife? And then I turn over, I can see she's about 15 meters away from me, laid out on the floor. And because I remembered she was on the back of the bike, I'm thinking, what's happened? Is she dead? Is this it? Can I get up? So I get up. I do manage to get up, and I immediately realize I'm no good, because I've been hit by a car on my right side at full speed. I don't know what's broken, I don't know. And I try to walk, and I do manage to hobble over and lie down next to her. She's in a bad way. And I'm just lying down there in that moment, and I'm like, what the F is going on in my life? I've lost all my mates. Cops are after me. I'm 170 kilos, and I'm lying down on the floor, broken, and my missus is also broken. I don't even know if she's going to make it, is the honest truth. And, and then everything just happens. It's a blur, people running over, cops, ambulances. And, I'm in hospital, and then I realize, okay, well, I'm either going to give up now, or I got to rebuild my life from scratch. And I think that point for me was the turning point in my life.
Wow. That is a deep reflection period for you. And what comes to me is, you're a man of faith, and I believe God makes these things happen for a reason. Because you were going down a certain path that if you continue going down, you may not be here today.
Man, it's absolutely a thing of faith and just the way the world works. But, at that point when you're at rock bottom, you just have to say to yourself, I'm going to believe, and I'm going to build one step at a time and come out of this on the other side, or I'm going to give up and die. But I don't have that personality, or that part in my soul which would be happy to lie down and give up, and I think it comes from faith. It comes from your upbringing. It comes from my mum and my dad. My dad, if anything, taught me as a kid, and my mum, to be strong and resilient. They taught me that I'm a good person, which is why I think fatherhood is important. I got kids now too, and they taught me, hey, you're a good person. They instilled in me you're a good person even before they knew I was. And I think why that's important is because it's in that moment when you're down and out in life, you have to make yourself believe that you are a good person, and that you do deserve to rise up out of that position, to actually get yourself up out of that scenario. Because if you're in a position where you're down on luck, and you don't have that belief in God, yes, and belief in yourself, which comes from the support and people around you, you're not going to rise up out of that scenario.
Yeah, and there's a beautiful quote that I found the other day, and it goes, most men die at 25. We just don't bury them until they're 75.
Yeah, wow.
And for you, you would have been, 25, 26,
Something
around
like
that age,
yeah.
when all this happened, and going down that path where you're, I guess, living a life that, in a way, society prescribes to us, get married, run a business or work a job, career, and then you don't really look after yourself too much, and it's just like a slippery slope. And a lot of people stay in that until they are, for example, 75, yet God intervened, I believe, for you to put you on a different path, because I believe you're destined for something much greater.
Yeah, no, well, that's so true, man. And I think what it is we live unconscious. So if I look back at that time in my life, I wasn't actively trying to get, severely, morbidly obese. I wasn't actively doing anything illegal or trying to, get myself into the crosshairs of authorities in any way. I wasn't out there doing anything hooning on a motorbike or anything crazy. But I think what happens is you just become unconscious in
It's
your
like
life.
a death by 1,000 cuts.
Death by 1,000 cuts, and you're unconscious. So I was just cruising along, not being deliberate about my actions. So what changed from then on out is, well, I'm going to start to be deliberate about my actions to come out of this scenario. I'm going to get really specific about my routine. I'll get really specific about food, how I eat, how I train. Coming out of that, the next 8 months of my life, I managed to lose naturally, without surgery or anything, 65 kilos just by eating well and exercising. So I proved to myself I've got the willpower, the skill set, the knowledge, and all the ability to get my weight under control. And then outside of that, building on everything else, we really started to work on the business. We dedicated ourselves weekend. Tufik, my business partner, and business partners are so important because Tufik was with me through that whole process. And even when I was down and out and spending time in hospital recovering, he was there making sure the business survived, while I was making sure myself and my wife could get recovered and get out of hospital. But Tufik was there. Me and him coming out of that, getting my health right was number one, recovering, getting my weight under control. Number two, getting the business right, including things like how you vet your clients. You know what I mean? How you make sure that you do everything so there's not even a suspicion of anything wrong. And I'm thankful because nothing came of all that investigation. Like I'd always known we'd done nothing wrong, and we never found guilty of anything, never charged with anything, and all the scrutiny dissipated. But I say this all the time: the process is the punishment. If you can avoid scrutiny, you should avoid it. You don't even want to be associated with things that could get you into trouble, because you're just going through the process of being investigated or thinking, having to prove your paperwork's legit or whatever. You don't want to go through all that. So we cleaned our processes to a T, where we welcome an audit. We welcome now scrutiny, because we do things so meticulously that even if something did, come up where we were being questioned, our records are cleaner and better than anyone else. In my personal life, I've made health a priority, and whilst it's still a struggle, I go up and down. I've had some surgeries and health things in the past few years, but making time to get to the gym and eat well has to be a priority. Making time to make sure the business is on track is a priority, and then most of all, making sure you got time for your family.
Yeah, I was going to ask, during this whole period and ordeal, I'm assuming it did, but did it strengthen your relationship with your wife because you went through this traumatic experience together?
Yeah, it's really strange how these things happen. My wife and I, we had a lot of challenges. So in the midst of the business problems and the raid and the bike and my weight problems, we were having really hard time having kids.
Okay.
So, my wife and I went through probably 4 or 5 years of trying to have kids, and very sadly, my wife had 2 miscarriages. So on top of all that, she was going through a very traumatic and devastating time. And, she hit her rock bottom and I hit my rock bottom at the same time for some of the same, the accident, and some different reasons as well, trying to have kids and build a family. So what you do in times like that, or what I found myself doing, was isolating myself and creating a barrier around myself, because I was in a really traumatic situation, and I think she did that as well. And then from then on, we have been working on rebuilding that closeness and intimacy. And one of the best ways that rebuilt and we learnt to be normal again and not like 2 traumatized individuals was having kids.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we've had 2 beautiful kids since then, and parenting those kids and putting that traumas behind us has helped to strengthen our relationship more and more. So I would say in the beginning, the adversity adds a real big strain on the relationship, psychological and and physical and everything else, because we were hit by cars.
Yep.
But then when you look back now, 5-10 years on, and you see you've come through that and you've passed those challenges, now you're double down, you're twice as strong as you were to start with.
Yeah. The way I like to relate it to, and we'll bring it back to rugby league, is like during the preseason, you do these, these army camps or whatever, and it builds that strong culture and that connection because you're doing tough things together and you're in the trenches together. And once you get out the other side, you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It really does build that trust and that strength and relationship. And, that motorbike accident in a way was like a big reset for both of you to then go, okay, we need to go away, work on ourselves, but then also build together as well. And now you're at a point where, did I see you training for like a powerlifting thing as well?
Yes, yeah. So, looking for reasons to stay competitive and stay motivated. Being a competitive person with a sports background, what's hard when you become an accountant or a business person, your worth is no longer linked to how good of a prop forward you are on the footy field, right? So you have to fabricate or create like a goal to inspire you to train. And what I found difficult about training just purely for aesthetics is I don't really care, right? Yep. So I don't care enough to be like, look like a bodybuilder.
You look good anyway, bro.
Thanks, bro. I love you. But I don't care enough to look like a bodybuilder. I don't care enough to just hit the gym for like aesthetic purposes. So although I do it for functional reasons, I'm like, I want to actually do something where I can use my skills to compete, and then also use that as a motivation for training. So growing up, my biggest regret is I never did individual lifting sports because, I had a few talents in strength and things like that, but I used them to run straight and hard into other front rowers. So, as I'm getting older in life, I thought, well, I want to maintain muscle mass and I want to test my body to the limit. So that's why I've taken up powerlifting only recently. And I'm putting it out there early, which I don't like to do, just to keep myself accountable. And it's going really well. I connected with Beth Park, who's a powerlifter and the coach. And she's been training me for, the last few months now to build up my basic skill set and knowledge around powerlifting. You know what's funny? I've been in the gym my whole life.
Yeah.
I've been doing things wrong. I've been doing things the wrong way. She's looking at my squats. She's looking at my deadlifts and my bench press. And she's teaching me like a toddler the basics of setting up, all the cues, all the right techniques, taking the weight out of the bar, the way my feet are played, like every single, she's watching videos. I'm sending her videos of my form and she's just teaching me from scratch how to do things. And you immediately notice when you fix your form and do things correctly, the capacity of what you can lift goes up. So, I'm doing it as an endeavor to strengthen myself as a dad, as a husband, as a business owner, as an accountant. Because if I want to now, as I approach 40, continue to perform at the level I performed for the last 10 years, the next 30, 40 years, I need to keep my body in shape. So the powerlifting is gonna, I think, help do that if it doesn't break me first.
And you mentioned a key word earlier in the podcast around leadership, and this is a big part of leadership around leading by example, especially for your kids too, because you can tell them, you got to exercise, you got to eat healthy, run a business, look after yourself mentally, physically, all that stuff. But if you're not doing it yourself, they're not going to do that. So how important is it for you to actually lead by example, especially for your kids?
Bro, when I see my son in the pantry, I think of myself. Do you know what I mean? So I passed on a few things to my kids. One of them was my great appetite. And I have to be the person that teaches them how to spend that energy, not just to consume it. So
how old are your kids, sorry?
I got a 4-year-old and almost 2-year-old.
Is the 4-year-old the one that eats a lot? Bro,
he can eat, yeah.
My daughter's 3.5, always in the pantry eating so much food. I'm like, how does a little human consume so much?
Well, they're growing, but yeah, at the same time, you want to give them the good stuff. And they have the thing with kids, man, they know straight away, as soon as they have sugar, they know it tastes better than everything else. Mm-hmm. So you can defer giving them the sugar as long as possible. But as soon as they get their first taste of sugar, it's like they've got this scanner now where anything they see, they know the sugar content just on sight, and they will want to consume the thing that has got more sugar in it. So for us, the challenge is making sure the kids eat the good stuff, the protein and the good carbs and stuff first, and save the treats and minimize the treats. I'm bad as a dad compared to my wife. I'm trying to be better, and only bad in this sense is that I'm the good cop. So it's very hard for me to say no. Whereas my wife is just natural. She can just be like, no, that's not good for you. You're not going to have that. Sorry. No, Nikki, you can't eat that. Whereas for me, if he's like asked me twice, I buckle. So yes, the example has to be the thing. So I'll try my best to lift myself as an example because I'm not a good policeman.
It's good to have a treat every now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're correct. My daughter can pick out all the naughty foods.
Yeah.
Straight away. I'm like, oh fuck, I need to get rid of these.
Yeah.
'Cause she just goes straight for them.
Have you seen those videos where the dad's trained with their kids and then 5 years later you see like they've shot up and the kids are like, built or whatever, like the progress of what happens?
Yeah.
Man, what do you think about that? Do you want to do that sort of stuff with your kid?
My daughter comes to the gym with me now.
Oh, she does now?
Yeah, because I train at a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
So I bring her with me. This afternoon we're actually going together. And she loves it. She gets a little baby weights and plays around.
Yeah.
She does like her sit-ups in the class as
Yeah.
well. So I think it's so pivotal to have your kids exposed to those environments because it teaches them those healthy habits that they're going to continue to grow and develop on as they get older.
Yeah, I see that. That's the exact thing that makes me want to do a home gym setup. It's hard to take your kid to a commercial gym and other people around or whatever. So I thought, you know what, maybe I should invest building a little home gym and doing some of that stuff at home. But it's generational for us in our family. Like I said to you, when the Bulldogs win a game, it was like Christmas. So unfortunately what that meant for us is every weekend was Christmas, which meant every weekend was barbecues, eating, and we connected joy with eating, with family, and they're all beautiful things. But if you don't moderate it, and this is where my dad was really good, he got us moving a lot. So for us, it was if we finish eating, as soon as we finish eating at a picnic barbecue at our house, straight away, we're up having a game of touch footy, we're playing cricket, moving. I think if you get the balance right with your kids, you get them moving as well as get them eating right, you'll break that generational curse of obesity.
And for you, how has fatherhood deepened your sense of what truly matters to you?
Look, I think about life. I'm a deep thinker, and I think too much sometimes. My wife catches me daydreaming, as did my mum as a kid. Fatherhood is important because it's how you actually leave your legacy in the world. If you are having kids, that's really the only part of you leave behind that matters. So we can build businesses, we can build assets, we can build wealth, but your DNA is embedded in that kid and they are literally a part of you that's left in this world. So the more I think about it, the more I understand there's nothing more important in this life than having kids. And that's I don't want to say that in a heartless way. Like I have sympathy for people who can't have kids and don't have kids, and I got a lot of love for them and there's a lot of value to them. But on reflection after having kids, I'm trying to weigh up, well, why is it so important? Number one, they're your legacy. When you raise kids, what they do in this world, they carry your name, they carry your DNA. You will disappear one day. You'll be gone. They'll be here. Then they'll have kids. And the way the future of this world goes is directly correlated to how you raise your sons and daughters. Number two, kids is an antidote to selfishness. There is no other mechanism by which someone will naturally want the best interest of someone else over themselves. If you're the most selfish bloke you know, there's nothing better you can do right now than try have some kids, because the antidote is kids. You will love those kids. Generally, most people, unless you're broken in some way, will love their kids more than you love yourself. I know you experience that and I experience it. So all of a sudden, you now live in the world that is virtuous. You live in the world in a way that is virtuous. You are now thinking about what's best for my kid. How can I provide for them better? How can I spend more time with them? How can I teach them things? How can I do things to make them happy? I took my kids to Luna Park on the weekend. Just seeing them happy was worth a $500 admission fee to get into the place. It is expensive, but you have the kids, you teach them things, and you are now investing in them with your time and resources. So you are now less important to yourself. You decrease and other people increase. And we're all taught that you should put other people first. There's no one easier to put first other than yourself than your kids. So you teach them. It's an antidote to selfishness. the next thing is you're basically able to take the lessons that your parents taught you and pass them on. So it's a pay it forward thing as well. There's so many times now when I'm sitting with my son and I think about my dad and I think, oh man, like my dad said this to me and now I'm saying it to my son. My dad taught me manners. My dad taught me not to snatch. My dad taught me not to lie. You know, my dad taught me to work hard. My dad told me delayed gratification. My son's got this problem right now. He's so cute. He goes to jiu-jitsu and he's got a white belt.
Yeah.
They put stripes on the belt, okay? And every time they get to the end of the class, Coach Adrian will pull up one kid, give him a stripe. Now, as you would expect, there's 20 kids in the class and not every week your kid's not always going to get a stripe. It's going to be one random kid and maybe every 5-10 weeks he'll get a stripe. My son is learning that you're not meant to cry every time you don't get a stripe and someone else does. So I had to sit him down. I say, Nicky, Dad, I love you. Listen, you're a good boy. You've got a stripe before and you'll get a stripe in the future. If you do the right thing and you listen to Adrian, you'll get another stripe. But I don't want you to cry when someone else gets a stripe. If someone else gets a stripe and you don't get a stripe, I want you to don't cry. I want you to clap for them and say congratulations to them because they deserve the stripe. And when it's your turn to get a stripe, then they'll clap for you and they'll congratulate you. So teaching him that delayed gratification, that empathy for other people, they're lessons that I was taught, and now I get an opportunity to pay that forward. And as we all have found, there are things that our parents did that we don't agree with, and you have an opportunity to do it your way. And there are things that our parents did for us that, we can't even do for our kids for cost or for other purposes and that. And it just gives you more gratitude for your parents. It makes you love your parents so much. I didn't love my mum and dad until I had kids. And I don't mean that in a way that I didn't love them. I thought I loved them. But when I had kids, I realized my mum and dad are the two people in this world that would die for me at the drop of a hat, no questions asked. And I'm very thankful and I've got so much gratitude because I've got parents like that. And I know a lot of people resonate with that because they feel like that about their parents. But it was like going the full circle moment when I realized that I would in a breath kill or die for my sons. That I have two parents that also feel that way about me. How important is that for community, for building, for bonding? When you look at mum and dad and you go, I love you, mum and dad. You did everything for me. You did your best for me. And now I know how much I mean to you. Now I feel guilty when I don't call them. I feel guilty when I don't visit them because I can imagine raising Nicky and doesn't speak to me for a month, doesn't ever call me, doesn't ever see me. I'll be heartbroken because I love that kid to death. I love both my kids. I love them so much. If they didn't care about me, didn't want to see me, didn't want to hear from me, that's me not calling my parents because I'm too busy running the business or traveling the world or whatever. You got to call your parents. You got to see your parents. You have to. And it makes sense when you're a parent.
It does, and I'm just sitting here and reflecting on that too. And when my daughter was born, it really did allow me to reflect on my own parents, especially my dad. I never had a close relationship with my dad, but through becoming a father myself, I have a lot more appreciation and respect for him as a man and what he did for us, because now me going through my own challenges of fatherhood, I'm like, oh, my dad went through very similar things. And when you're a kid, you don't quite understand it. But then once you get to that adulthood and, as you said, you come full circle, you're like, oh, wow, I have so much more respect and gratitude towards you. And it's a very beautiful place to come from because our relationship now is getting stronger since I've become a father. So now there's that connection between him, me, and then my daughter. Yeah. And it really is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's so good. It's so good to see. And I think, and I want your opinion on this, we grow up in a society, maybe growing up in 90s, 2000s, where father figures were made to be a bit of a joke. Like you grow up in Modern Family, the dad's like a goofy guy, he's funny, he's someone you laugh at. Homer Simpson, yep. You laugh at him, he's like, made a mistake, drink too much, like, mum comes, fixes everything. So I think we're under-indexed on the importance of fathers in the media growing up, and it sort of may have swayed our opinions on, wow, how valuable and important having a dad and having a good dad would be.
Well, we can see the way society's going with broken homes and the lack of male role models in the household around the next generation of children coming up. And that's impacted society a lot, I believe, which is why for me it's so important that I have so much involvement in my daughter's life, not just because I love her so much, but because I see the importance of being around her and giving her my love and my support and the lessons for her to grow up and be her own individual. Then she can go have an impact in this world. I think having men in kids' lives is so important.
Yeah, and there is a going away from that in society, where courts, the system, everything favors women as the primary carer, and there is an importance to having women as primary carers, but I think we've under-indexed a little bit on how important it is to have dad around. So I think there can be a correction on that, and we need to understand the value of both parents. That being said, we look at the history, and this is something I've been thinking about, the history of humanity. There is a bit of a construct in the system of the family, right? So if you go back and let's say you look at the animals, right? In an animal kingdom, you don't have the clear confines generally of mum, dad, and nuclear family, and they've got kids, and the dad's having kids with one wife, and they've got they have 3 kids together, or 5 kids, or 10 kids, and that's their kids, and they're one unit till the end, because what you have is a free-for-all.
Yeah.
So us as a human species, we obviously have the family unit, which is a construct in a sense, because we are working against the free market of how things work to create that construct. But that construct has so many benefits. Now, you could say it's a construct, so therefore get rid of it and let's just go and have a free-for-all. What's the downside of having a free-for-all? You're going to have less families, people doing whatever they want, having as many kids with as many people as they want at the same time. There's going to be less, specifically dad investment in the kids, because when you have a wife and you say, okay, you're my wife, all the kids you have are going to be my kids, and she agrees to that, then you can invest all your resources in her. You can say, all right, you're my missus. You've promised me that you only give me kids and no one else. So what I can do now is I can go earn money. I can protect you. I can buy, work to pay off a house. You can raise the kids, or we can raise the kids together. You can work, I can work. We can both take care of the same kids. We can join resources to do that. If it's a free-for-all, there's no such thing as marriage. Then how do I split my resources of time and money between all my kids coming from all different places? So we lose that stability. And then we know when you lose the stability, crime rates increase, kids without dads or with a direct relationship with the dads, they start living like it's a free-for-all, and it becomes more selfish. So the construct of the family has the benefit of creating society, stability and civilization. The alternative is a bikie gang. The alternative is I'll bang whoever I want, I have as many kids with whoever I want, whoever has kids has kids, I'll do what I want with my money, everyone fends for themselves, everyone fight for yourself, and then we haven't built a civilization, we've built a bikie gang. And I think we've proven that, as far as we know now, the best system for raising kids and building civilization is a family with a mum and a dad and kids in that family. And yes, there are exceptions to the rule, but we shouldn't target and drive towards the exceptions. We should drive at the rule and then make room for the exceptions as they happen.
Do you feel at the core of that family structure, the healthy structure that I believe that we've just discussed, is faith?
Yeah, I mean, faith is important, because everything that requires sacrifice is faith. So, faith is basically, is what drives you to do things that are irrational on the basis that you're doing it with a good outcome, right? Or believing in something you can't actually see. So let's say I'm a man and I get married and I have kids with a woman, and then I don't like that woman anymore. I don't like her personality. I don't think she's attractive. Whatever happens, my circumstances change. The desire for me is to leave her and get a better one, get another one, get a younger model, do whatever. Same thing if I'm a woman, right? If I'm a woman and I marry a man and then whatever, he loses his job and, things don't work out, the desire there naturally is going to be to upgrade, right? Faith comes in when you need something to remind you that you need to aim at the highest good. So because if you believe in God and you believe in what's right and wrong, or if you don't, but you believe in aiming up and you have faith in doing good in the world, you and the person, the atheist and the God-fearer, can still point up and still want to do what's right. And what's right is what's in the best interest of everyone, not just yourself. And that's why the faith and my faith, my Christianity, embodies that concept so well, because in Christianity, Jesus came down from heaven and died on a cross and rose again. And he died for his friends. He laid down his life for his friends. That's sacrifice. That's faith. That's putting others before yourself. So that concept that Christ teaches us in Christianity, and however it is embodied in your life, is the thing that builds civilization.
And we speak about putting others before ourselves, and you spoke about the antidote to selfishness is having kids, and obviously faith plays a huge part in that as well. But I also want to challenge that in a way of, I believe we have to be selfish to a degree, and what I mean by that is we have to put ourselves first to be the best version of ourselves, so then we can give back to people at the best of our ability. How is that played in your role and your take on that? Because I totally get what you're coming from. Like there is a lot of people that are full selfish and they just care about themselves. But I also believe we have to put ourselves first, work on ourselves, so then we can give back to others.
Yeah. I often describe that problem that you've described of should I take care of myself or others as the gas mask analogy in the airplane, right?
Yep.
When the gas mask comes down and you lose altitude, or you lose the atmospheric pressure in the plane, the gas mask drops. You're taught to put the mask on first, then put the mask on your kids. Why are you taught that? You're taught that because if you put the mask on yourself last, you might pass out before you're able to help put the mask on your kids and then put it on yourself. So if you put your mask on first, no matter what happens, you're getting oxygen, then you now can, from that position, turn and put a mask on your kids or other people around. That concept applies in life very well when you're talking about being selfish. But what's the difference between someone who's selfish for selfishness sake and someone who's selfish to help others? It's that when they actually find that their stock is full and they're replenished, they now turn their posture to serve others, right? So I'm very much put my mask on first type person. I believe getting my house in order first, getting my finances in order, getting my body in order, getting myself to maximum capacity and performance first, so to serve others. So you could look at me while I'm out, but when I was buying my first home or building my business or going to the gym, taking care of myself, or look at my whole life, or I'm eating or doing whatever, and you go, that guy's selfish, he's taking care of himself. But what the difference is the intention. Are you a person that is building up your stocks to serve yourself, to live a life of hedonism, just to make yourself happy? Or are you doing it because you want to serve your community? Are you doing it to give to charity? Are you doing it to take care of your kids? Are you doing it to take care of your parents? Are you doing it to take care of others? So be selfish to meet your needs so that you are then overstocked and supplied to serve others. And I've got no issues with that. Now, I grew up with a dad that was different to that. My dad, and this is why I think he's stronger than me and better than me, he was able to help others when he had nothing. All right. He was the type of person who he would just expend himself, do nothing selfish, destroy himself, give of himself till he had absolutely nothing left, put everyone else first and end up with nothing. And I look at that, and when I was young, I despised that. When I was young and my dad had no money and he would give money to people who asked him for money, or he had no money and my dad had a truck, did removalist work on the weekend. He'd pick me up, go, all right, we're going to go. It's a Saturday. What are you doing, Dad? I'm going to do some work. There's a family who needs to move house. I go, all right, we'll go help them move house. We worked about 12 hours helping them move house from a unit to another place. And I remember them. They were an immigrant family too. They were from Lebanon at the time. They were speaking Arabic to my dad. And they came to pay my dad at the end, and my dad refused to take money. And I remember like mum and dad arguing because money was tight in our home. But my dad would go out and do removalist work with his truck, and he did this job, and it's like a common occurrence. They'd want to pay him, and my dad refused to take money. And I said, Dad, why didn't you take any money? And he said, Dad, it's the right thing to do. They're struggling. They don't have any money. They're here. They're new from Lebanon, whatever. I didn't want to take money off them. I said, yeah, but what about you? Like, how are you going to pay mortgage? How are you going to do that? And he said, I don't care. If I've got $10 in my pocket and someone needs it more than me, I'm going to give it to them. So I despised that. I thought my dad was stupid. I said, Dad would not take money off people. Dad would give money when he had none. And I go, what an idiot. Like, when I'm older and I'm smarter, I'm going to, do things in reverse. The older I get, the more I realize he's 10 times the man I'll ever be. Because he's someone who, despite his need, is still able to be selfless, still able to do for others. And whilst I'm someone so much more reserved, so much more self-focused, so much more introverted, yes, I might be able to do more for others in my calculated way in the long run than my dad, but I still envy and respect and admire people who have nothing and they can still give, because it just shows an ultimate selflessness. The core of their humanity, their love for people is deeper than what I think mine is. And I could be wrong about that, but it's just the admiration I've got for people like that I've only learnt later in life.
Yeah, that gets me reflecting on my own father. He started his business when he was extremely young, and he was always working and giving back to people. And especially there was one time where he put an aircon in for someone because they had a disability, and they couldn't regulate their body temperature, so he put one in, and like no money, they just bought him a case of beer, and he was like, yeah, sweet. And when I was younger, I never quite understood it, because like he was always working and not really spending much time with me, and I had a lot of resent towards him, and I never understood it. And as I mentioned before, me becoming a father and understanding these values and what it is to be a man and to be a father and to provide and to give back to people, it gives me a deeper understanding to it all. But coming back to the point of the older generation, where they are in a way very selfless and they will give when they have nothing, I wouldn't say it's right or wrong, though there needs to be maybe a bit more balance towards it, because I don't feel like it's sustainable, and I don't believe you can step into the best version of yourself if you continue to do that your whole life.
Absolutely. Like I'm sitting back from a position of like repentance from the judgment. So the judgment was, hey, Dad, do things for yourself, build your wealth, build your pockets, take care of yourself. So in the future, you can then take care a little bit with the leftovers with others. But my dad continually exhibited putting others first to his own detriment, to the point where my dad went bankrupt. I've said it on podcasts before, whatever, like he just bankrupt. He doesn't care. He'll bankrupt himself to help other people. He doesn't care. If I can simultaneously say, yep, there could be a logical, better way, but from a feelings perspective, from a values perspective, I've learned to admire that side of him, and of people who live for the day. Like, people who live for the day are the ultimate alphas. And what I mean by that is they're not scared, bro. If you live for today, like, think about it. You got two guys. One guy takes all his money, saves it, invests for tomorrow, thinks about how I'm going to have enough money to pay my mortgage, how I'm going to have enough money to build wealth and leave assets for my kids. Then you got another person that just lives for the day. You can't tell me on a spectrum, when you compare A and B, that the guy who's not scared is less of a man than the guy that is worried about tomorrow. And I just think it's a more masculine trait, and you're more of a man if you can give and let tomorrow take care of itself rather than save. But this goes against everything I teach people as an accountant. I obviously teach people to be smart with your money. I teach myself. I have investments. Like, I do all those things. But as an investor, as a business owner, as someone that's so cautious, as someone that plans, I look at the other crazy people that don't do that, and I'm judging them less, and I'm admiring them more for what it is.
Yeah, living in the moment, and being present, because we don't have control of the past or the present. The only moment is now.
Yeah.
And I think, even coming back to fatherhood again, when you have kids, it makes you realize like you got to value every moment, especially with your children.
The big problem I find that I'm trying to break, and we all have to break, is the phone, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel guilt when I'm sitting, and it's not because I'm addicted to my phone or whatever. Like, we're all probably the same in some way. You get home, you might have a big day. You've been on a drive for an hour from work. You're catching up on notifications or seeing whatever, tying up a few things. But what your kids see when you come home is you're looking at your phone, and they're excited to tell you about their day. They're excited to tell you about what they've drawn, what they've done, and you're like, it's okay, you know, go away. I'll speak to you a bit. Give me a minute. And what they're seeing is Dad's more interested in being on his phone than spending time with me and playing with me. It's heartbreaking when you put yourself into your kid's perspective, if you're doing that, if you're putting screen time or things like that ahead of giving them, some quality time.
Yeah, there was a video I seen that actually impacted me a lot, where they had two scenarios where there was a dad who came home and he wasn't on his phone, and the kid runs out so excited, everything like that, they're playing. And then the second scenario is the dad comes home and he's just on his phone, and the kid walks out, looks at him and just like is sad, and then just ends up just playing by himself. And it's like, I don't want to be that dad that's on the phone all the time. And it is hard when you're running a business and you're getting notifications, but for me, it's like I need to put my phone down as much as possible and be present, because having young kids, they're only going to be young for so long. They're going to grow up, they're going to go out and on their own journey, and they're not going to contact you as much because they're doing their own thing. So you got to make the most of it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. You know, attention is so important for kids. Like, if they feel like they're getting attention from mum and dad, that they correlate that with love, and they're going to be feel more whole as a human. It's going to help them grow into healthy adults. One thing my son's been doing to get my attention lately is my wife packs my lunchbox.
Yep.
And my son always puts something in there, like a toy or something he's made or whatever, as a surprise. So he packs the lunchbox. You know, yesterday he put a whistle in there. So I get to work, unpack my lunchbox, and then I make a video of me using the whistle. Or he put a yo-yo in the lunchbox last week. And it's like, man, these kids are just so happy thinking, oh, my dad's going to see the yo-yo in there. He's going to think it's so funny. Imagine going to that effort, doing the investment as a kid and not getting the payoff of a reaction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, your kids do little things. They try to get your attention. Give them the payoff. Give them the attention. Say, oh, that was funny. Like, engage with them. It takes 1 minute of time to change their day and change their perception of you and feel loved. And like, the healing in the world comes when all these kids are raised feeling loved and feeling whole. And I, as an employer, see the difference in employees with kids that are loved and kids that are not loved. I can tell you, we hire 5 cadets this year. We hire cadets every year. Every cadetship intake, you can see the confidence. You can see so much of their personality coming out because they come from a family of support, as opposed to those that don't. And it's not an excuse. Like, if you actually grew up in a difficult scenario, it doesn't mean you have to go into the workplace and be someone that is narcissistic and rude and whatever. But so often when people are hurt, they hurt others. And I find that when I bring in juniors, the ones that are most loved, the ones that are most supported, find it most easy and natural to also be loving and caring towards others. And the ones that come from environments that are not so much, they've got a real uphill battle to learn that maturity.
Yeah, there's a beautiful C.S. Lewis. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah.
He's like a Christian writer.
I know him well.
And one of the quotes that he put out that I come across recently was, your legacy is not the material things that you build in this world. Your legacy is the way you make your children feel loved, seen, and heard. And that really hits me, because yes, obviously you want to build the business, you want to provide for your family, but at the core of everything, it's how do your kids see you?
Yeah.
How do you want your kids to see you?
Look, at the end of the day, I believe a father's role, as a father, my role is to provide and protect. That's the function. But the way I want them to view me is as someone to aspire to be like. I want my kids to look at me and say, especially because I got boys, so it's an easy 1-to-1 correlation. I want my sons to look at me and say, you know what, when I grow up, I want to be like Dad. And what that means to me in my life is performing at the highest optimal level as a human in the best interest of others and myself at all times. I want to leave a legacy so that when my kids look at me, they don't think, they think less, and I'm sure they will think, I don't want to do that because dad did that, but I want them to think, you know what, my dad was brave, my dad was confident, my dad was hardworking, my dad cared about others, my dad was diligent, my dad was fearless, my dad was strong. I want them to think those things about me, but most of all, I want them to know and think dad loved me. I want them to feel surrounded by an abundance of love and affection, so that as they grow up, they don't feel like they missed out on any love at all. I make a special effort to be as affectionate with my kids as possible. I spend, as much time possible being cute with them, wrestling with them, kissing them, hugging them, because for me, that is 10 times more important than even lessons I teach them. It's that they feel in their heart they're loved, because that's how I felt growing up with my parents. My mum and dad loved me so much. They gave me absolutely everything. I had an abundance of hugs, kisses, time. And like till this day, I could go to any one of them with any scenario at any times. And that's, I know they will be there for me. So if I can just pay that forward to my kids, I'll die a happy man.
Talk to me about work-life integration. I don't believe there's balance. We've got to integrate these parts of our lives together. And for you, building a business and now you're wanting to scale it and improve yourself as a leader and as an owner of a business, how do you integrate that side of you, building the business, and also being a father and being present for them and giving them as much quality time as you can?
Yeah, no, that's fair. As a business owner, I've got the liberty to build the business in a way that suits me. Now, I don't believe in work-life balance like they're separate things. I look at it as I have a life, and my life is very much revolved around every element of my being, including what I do in my business. I'm building a life, and I try to build a life where how I perform in my business will encourage and strengthen my kids. Like I don't do my work and business despite having kids. I do my work because I have kids. I do it so they can see dad's a man, dad's building a business, dad works hard, dad cares about his clients, dad cares about his staff. So when I'm at work, I'm an example to them. When I'm with them, I'm there giving them quality time and loving them. And what I'm trying to build, and this is it's a forever battle, is how to get the routine and the pathway right, so that I'm spending the right amount of time with them and the right amount of time in the office, and getting all that balance right. Will I get the balance perfectly right? No, but I'm going to try my best to get it right, and I'm going to try to pivot and be sensitive to their needs, but also sensitive to the business needs. And sometimes I have to give up some things in the business that I love doing and get other people to do them, so I have more time to do other things I need to do in the business. And sometimes I need to give up family time to be a leader in the business. I've got 40 people that look up to me. We've got 2,500 clients that look up to me at Latitude Accountants. If I'm not the guy that's putting it all on the line to be there for them, then I'm a bad leader. Okay, so I'm a leader in the home, I'm a leader in the business, I'm a leader to my clients. I need to perform at optimum levels to be able to meet all those needs. I know I will never achieve perfection, but I will die trying. You know what I mean? I'll go as hard as possible to fulfill all my roles in all those avenues to the best of my ability. At the end of the day, I'm finite and human, and just like we all are, we're gonna fail, and then you learn where you fail and you try correct. But definitely, man, definitely. The kids part is like, it's the most rewarding. I don't care what anyone says. The reason why we have a sex drive and why the sex drive is so high, if you're a boy who's teenage all the way up to X years old, you understand what it's like to have a high sex drive. And why do you want to chase women? You want to chase women because biologically, there's nothing better than having kids. Mm-hmm. It is the most important thing. It is the most rewarding thing. It is downplayed so much. We've collapsed the birth rate because we've forgotten about the importance of it. But like having kids is the thing. Everything else that we do, like if you're a man and you're chasing status or business Why is it important to have money or status or business? Why? So chicks like you. Why? So they can get married to you, or so they can give you kids. You're biologically trained as a machine to work out how to have kids. Okay, so don't forget what the goal is. It's to build family, to have kids, to leave a legacy. All the other pieces have to give in to that. That's the core.
Definitely. And around the leadership piece and leading by example, it's good that as business owners we can, integrate our life with our work as well, because it shows our kids this is what hard work looks like. This is what it takes to build a business, to be the best version of me. And for myself personally, like my daughter comes in the studio, as I said, I take her to the gym and I integrate her in those areas of my life and expose her to those environments, because I believe it's very pivotal in her development and seeing what I actually do and what it takes to be the best version of yourself. And like, do you bring your kids into the office at all?
I do. Bring them in, and it's important for them to see how you operate. One of my favorite things growing up was going on the truck with my dad.
Yeah.
Seeing my dad work, seeing him interact with other people where he was making deliveries or pickups, and seeing how he treats people. And my dad's very energetic and charismatic, and he's nice to everyone. Oh, that's something I learned from dad. Dad is like, he greets people with the biggest hug, loudest voice, overtly nice. He doesn't care if someone is not nice or not in a good mood. He forces his nicest upon them. So you learn from your parents how to interact with others. It's good for them to see you outside of the home in that environment. Can I say, with your daughter, you say how you want her to see you and the relationship you have with you. I can't only imagine how good it is for her to have a good relationship with you in light of the decisions she'll make with the type of guy she wants to be with when she grows up.
That is actually one of the driving forces as to why I have that relationship with her and why I show up and continue to work on myself, is because when it comes time, I don't want her to pick a fucking loser. I wanted to pick someone like her dad who is a fucking weapon. I'm going to say it. Like, I'm a fucking weapon, and I don't want her to settle for anything less.
Yeah.
And when the time comes for me to, the right woman comes into my life again, I want her to see how a woman should be treated in a relationship and how a family should come together as one. Showing her these real life experiences, so then when her time comes, she has those, those values and those expectations of what it is. And then she can continue to grow on top of that as well, because as I said, we're human, we're not perfect.
That's it.
So yeah, it is a very much so a driving factor to me, and it all comes down to leading by example.
Yeah, I see that evident in your life. Like, it means a lot to you. It's very central to your identity, and it's a really it's a good thing to see, and we need to see more of that in this day and age. I love content that's exhibiting like people that are being good dads, because it's one of the highest possible callings and the best things you can do in the world.
Yeah, and like me even like putting out this content like recently and receiving messages from other dads saying, wow, you've inspired me to be a better father to my children. It's made me realize that I haven't been showing up as my best self for them, because we do get caught up in life, in work, that we tend to subconsciously forget these things, but in reality, this is what truly matters at the end of the day. So that's why I keep doing it as well, to inspire other dads. And I know a lot of other fathers may not be in the same position of me, where I have been able to build a business and create the freedom to spend as much quality time with my kids as possible and have them in these environments. Though when you do spend time with your kids, make sure it is quality, not scrolling on your phone like we spoke about before. Making the most of every moment that you have with your children's is so much more important in how you show up as a man in the household.
If you're taking your kids for granted and you're struggling to take the responsibility of being a father seriously, I would encourage you to do this thing. Grab your phone, look up Danny and Layla Abdullah. All right. This beautiful family and couple had the tragedy of losing 3 of their kids in a car accident. A number of years ago, and they've used that as an opportunity to preach the message of forgiveness and to go out and to teach people about, because they've chosen to forgive the person that ran over their late children. Anytime I'm struggling with being a dad, I look at Danny and Layla and they inspire me because they have taken adversity of losing kids, and they've got other kids still that they parent and have had more kids, and they use that platform to do good, but they also remind me of the pain of tragedy, that how painful it would be to, like many parents in this world, to sadly lose your kids. If you're feeling like life is hard because you've got kids that you have to raise and you have to sacrifice for them, and they want you to go to jiu-jitsu or to footy, or they want you to read a book to them or hold their hand, or they won't go to sleep. Think about those people. Think about Danny and Layla who lost their kids. Think about people in Gaza who kids got carpet bombed, or, you know, think of all those people that don't have their kids there anymore, and remind yourself, how greedy and selfish are you? Because you're sitting there complaining that you got beautiful living kids that want to be with you and want your time. You know, shame on you, because in the drop of a hat you could lose everything, and you would regret that you actually didn't spend that time, and that you had those feelings of resentment or you know, whatever. So, you know, for me, I try my best to think of all the people that would wish to be in my position, and, you know, try my best every day to love my kids, because one day, you know, they will grow up and they will be gone, and not everyone has the kids. So it is the important thing, and we have to always have gratitude and thankfulness for kids. They're a blessing from God, and we need to do our best to treat that responsibility with the respect it deserves.
I definitely agree. And, you know, speaking into a lot of, well, there's parents out there that would use their children as an excuse not to go out there and achieve the things that they want to achieve in their life. And then they end up just resenting their children down the track, and their parents that go, you know, here's an iPad, you know, not actually showing up for their children. And coming back to myself, is like, why I bring my daughter around me as well is I don't want to be that parent. I don't want to have resent towards my kid and be like, oh, it's your fault that I never built the business, or I never achieved the things, or I never traveled. I think having children just makes it so much more enjoyable, and makes it so much more purposeful that you are building these things and you are having these experiences in life. It's not a negative thing. As you said, children are the best.
Yeah, big time, man. I share that sentiment 100%.
Now, I want to ask you, like, business, fatherhood, everything like that, what are you most proud of?
Mate, if I'm proud about anything, I'm proud about the people I've surrounded myself with. I had adversity in my life where if I didn't have the wife that I had, and if I didn't have the business partner I had, specifically those two people, I wouldn't have been able to pull myself out of the rock bottom I found myself in. So if I'm proud about anything, it's that I've managed to surround myself with good people. I haven't necessarily surrounded myself with people that are the 10 out of 10 in any particular element. But when I look at my judgment of character, I want to pat myself on the back, because my wife has been there for me through so much. Sarah has been there when I was out of money, when I was overweight, when I was in trouble, when I was down and out, and she's loyal and she cares for me, and being able to be there in return for her and sticking by her, that makes me proud. And also being in business with someone like Tufik, my business partner, when we were down and out too, and I was down and out, he was staunch and solid and by my side. I've got so many people in my life like that. My brothers, I've mentioned my parents, my brother Jack and my brother Michael. They're, my right-hand guys. They have my back, and I've got three beautiful sisters, Siham, Monique, Danielle. I've just got this network of people around me, of people that would do anything for me. So all my pride and all my strength comes from my people. I know I'm solid because I've got people behind me. You can't take me out, because if I'm down, the people around me lift me up, and they love me and I love them. And that bond and relationship is the basis of everything else in life. If I got hit by a car tomorrow, I know there's 20 people in my direct family, my community, my work, who would pick up the pieces with raising my kids, with running the business, with being there in the family. My crew runs really deep. And to me, there's nothing like having your crew. Your crew is who you are. It's your identity. And it gives me the confidence. People mistake me for being like confident because I'm arrogant in myself. I'm confident because I know who my dad is. I'm confident because I know who my brother is. I'm confident because I know who my wife is. I'm confident because I know who my business partner is. My people give me the confidence to conquer the world. I can be a conqueror because my people love me, and that is the type of pride that no one can take from you, because they're your people, right?
You just mentioned, you know who your wife is, you know who the people are around you. Do you know who you are?
This is the hard question. This is the lifelong question I've been facing. Who am I? The who am I question is the hardest one to answer. I'm a very liquid person, in the sense that I move and change because I like changing based on new information that I understand about myself. So I know who I am when I look at my people, but who am I in myself is one that is ever evolving. I like to think of myself as someone that's pointing upwards. Jordan Peterson talks about we need to aim up. I like to think I'm aiming up. I like to think I'm building virtues. I know I'm not perfect, but I like to think I'm someone who is working hard, who builds virtues. I've got a lot of titles. None of them really identify who I am. Accountant, father, all those things. I mean, they're titles. Who I am in my core, I just like to think I'm someone that is trying to be better every single day. And I know I'll be a different person tomorrow than I was yesterday, because I'm a different person today than I was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of my achievements. And despite my failures, which I'm very well aware what they are, I'm proud of who I am, and I'm happy to stand on my 2 feet and wear the fact that I am the person that I am.
I think that's a good note to end on. Mr. John Sadie, if people want to work with you, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, well, if you're looking for help with your small business accounting needs, latitudeaccountants.com.au. We've got an Instagram. We've got a podcast called The Lat Chat. We're on TikTok. We're all over radio. But we basically help small business owners with tax, accounting, everything business. And I would personally love to sit down with any business owners listening to this chat and tell them a bit more about my journey, but also learn about them and anything that they need help with in the business and tax front. Latitude Accountants are looking for new clients right now. Well, John Sadie, the coolest accountant in Western Sydney. Thank you so much, bro. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate you having me on. Cheers, man.